All right, thank you those of you who are here. Welcome to our second installment of In the Media Studio. I am Professor Molly Wilkins, and I'm here with co-hosts Emily Henderson and Claudia Dick. Both are students in Department of Communication, and we are happy to have my friend and former coworker, Marvin James of 13 WMAZ. And to give his introduction, we have Wendell Staten here from our athletic department.
Right. You want me to use the mic or not?
Whatever you're...
Well, I don't need it. I don't need it. I can assure you that as loud as I talk, but
you probably have to have it
for this to pick up, okay? All right, yeah. So, well, let me, I don't want to stand in front of them over here. Thank you all for coming. It's finals week, and I know everybody's very, very busy, but you're in for a real treat. And the thing I like about Marvin is what you see is what you get. He's the same person all the time. Every time you see him, he's positive. Like his initial greeting to you all, most people won't do that, right? He's behind a camera every day, but that was just a very nice thing to do. That's what you see is what you get with Marvin all the time. He does a great job for us selfishly. He's always covering our events, and every time you see him, he's the same way. He's hospitable. Hey, I appreciate you letting me be here. I'm like, oh, Marvin, we appreciate you being here. He usually drops things at the drop of a hat to come help us, and he'll do the same for you as an aspiring person in this industry. The other thing I would tell you is Marvin's a grinder. So the stuff that you read about in your textbook and all that, they don't tell you about them 100-hour weeks, do they, Marvin? They don't tell you about that, all right? Because that's the reality, okay? And when you see him on Friday night on the Friday Night Football show, all right, and he's out covering events and he's getting back, well, he also was up that afternoon. He was somewhere in Warner Robins, then he was in Millersville, then he was in Peach County, then he's here. He grinds, and that's just part of that industry. That's part of that world, and that's just what you do. But he does it without complaint. But he's also, when he's grinding, he's not home with his family. So that's part of the world as well. Again, is that in the textbook there about missing time with your family? But it happens once in a while, doesn't it, man? So, but Marvin's engaged, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful person. Again, that's why I go back to what you see is what you get all the time. And Molly can tell you that by them working together. I guarantee he's the same person now as you knew 10 years ago, or 20 or whatever it was, okay? He's the same person. So I'm appreciate him coming down and sharing wisdom today. I'll get off the stage. Thank you all for doing this. And thank you for asking me to come. And Marvin, appreciate you, man. Good to have you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you so much. So just as Mr. Staten was just saying, Marvin he's one of those rare people in TV news who is accessible to the general public. And he uses his platform not just to tell the news, but also to uplift and encourage people. And that's something that I personally really appreciate you using your personal platform for that as well. And so just to start out, can you tell us and tell the students a little bit about yourself and why you decided to stay in Middle Georgia area for your career? Because I think sometimes students have this idea that they're going to go off to these large markets, but something you've been able to do is stay here in Middle Georgia, and you've been able to tell some really cool stories by staying here and getting to know student athletes even as they're in high school, even moving on to the pros. If you could tell us about that to start out, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. In May, which is actually in a week or so, I'll celebrate 24 years at WMAZ. I graduated from Georgia Southern and graduated with a broadcasting degree. When I started in Macon back in May 9th, 10th of 1999, a lot of you guys weren't here or were very young. But when I started back then, I did not think that I was going to be in Macon for the rest of my life. I really didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't really sure. I know I wanted to do news, but I wasn't sure in what capacity. So I started off as a videographer, which is a photog. I was a camera guy. Back then, we went out with the reporters and we helped them take pictures and do interviews so we did that. I did that for a while, and I kind of got bored. And my news director at the time, Dodie Cantrell, she kind of guided me and said, "Okay, we're going to move you around and do some other things." So I went around and did, assignment editing, which was helping coordinate the different assignments that we're going to cover throughout the day. it wasn't until probably the midway point of my career that they asked me to start doing sports, which I do full time now. I was a student athlete. I played football at Georgia Southern, so I kind of was like, sure, I think, I like it. I know I really knew the basic sports like basketball, baseball, football. I probably needed some more teaching on the tennis and the NASCAR and golf. But, the way I say it, the way I think about it is, if you could talk 30 seconds about a sport, you can kind of make yourself sound like an expert for a little bit. So it's been fun learning that along the way. But it's just been a great opportunity. And staying in Central Georgia has probably been the best decision that I've ever made for myself. My wife is from Forsyth, so that kind of helped matters out. But at the same time, I thought that I would be missing out on the big time national limelight by staying here in such a small area, and that wasn't the case. I've been exposed to some very big story opportunities. More recently, I covered the Masters this past April, and I had an opportunity to do that countless times. And I'm not bragging, but it's just been one of those things that it's one of the assignments that we're fortunate enough to be able to have. And in January, of course, I was able to follow the Bulldogs for their second national championship in California. Not too bad to get a work assignment to go to LA for a week, even though it rained all week while we were there. And then the year prior to that, I went to Indianapolis for that national championship against Alabama. The SEC championship, I've been there several times as well. I tell people all the time, it's funny, I'm a Georgia Southern guy, and of course I love the home state team, so I don't have a problem with Georgia or Georgia Tech. I'm big fans of Georgia and Georgia Tech, and Mercer and Georgia College and Fort Valley, because when you guys excel, I get a chance to go along for the ride and excel. So it doesn't make sense for me to be a big Texas fan when I can't do anything with Texas if they win. So I'm very excited to support you all and your endeavors and just be along for the ride. Being a student athlete, a former student athlete, I know how important it is sometimes to get some of that that limelight, because there's so much work that you guys put in and so much work that students put in. So I just think that it's a big deal. And I mean, like I said, I'm just very proud to be here in Central Georgia and call this area home.
And now I'm going to let our students, Claudia and Emily, ask you some questions as well.
All right, so I'm going first. So 24 years. That's a lot.
24
That's
years.
impressive. All right, well, you kind of answered this, but I'll adjust it a little bit. So when it was basically, when did you decide that sports was your passion? But it sounds like you got introduced later on to the sporting newscast world. So when did you when did you really embrace that and start enjoying that?
Okay, well, true story. I was in high school, and my senior year, we had a powder puff game, which is, you guys know what that is, right? The flag football game for the ladies were playing. And a lot of my teammates wanted to go up and coach, and they wanted to coach the young ladies, and some of them wanted to be, cheerleaders or whatever, that's fine. But I just was like, I don't need to be with the pom-poms. I need to go up to the booth, and I want to do the PA. Hey, I'm very clean as I can. And so I went up to the booth in the PA, and I did the kind of the voiceovers and the, here they come, and blah, 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 and I was talking up there, and it was like, when I came down, my English teacher, Miss Sheila Keener, told me, you have a voice for radio. You need to do this. You need to do this. And she planted the seed. And it was beautiful because I did not know exactly what I wanted to do when I went to college. I thought I never had aspirations to be the next NFL football player because I knew I was too short. It wasn't going to work out for me. I knew I was wide enough, but I needed to go up that way. And it didn't work, so I knew I needed a backup plan. And I wanted to do something around sports, and this gave me the perfect opportunity to be around sports. And that's why I tell people, you may not be in the NBA, but guess what? You can be a vendor, you can be a journalist, you can be an agent. You can do so many different things that allow you to be around the sport you love. And to answer your question about when did I figure out the sports part was, we always had a football Friday night show, Mr. Stanton was explaining earlier. So I was a part of it. I was shooting football, and I would come back and edit it, and video it, and then give it to the other people to read. And the lead anchor for the show, Frank Malloy, told me, Marvin, we need you to just do it. You're already writing it. You're already editing it. I mean, just present it. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, well, just think about it, but we really could use your help. So I said, why not? When does anybody get a chance to just be on TV, without wanting to and asking for it? I know, Monica, there's so many people that want that opportunity. And I was like, so I'll do it. So that's when I think I've always been a sports guy, like a sports lover. And, I was glad to be able to do it and put the highlight on these high school kids in local sports. I mean, it's so many. When you go to these local games, these kids are so excited to be on television. They're like, if you guys all remember, if you played, high school sports, when you saw a camera there, it was like, whoa, TV news is here, And I think that's what's so important. And I really love the opportunity to be able to do that. So I think that's when I really just started realizing, by going to the games as a behind-the-scenes guy, that this was probably my opportunity to be in front of a camera.
Okay. So like you said, you attended Georgia Southern and you played football there. So being a student athlete, were you really able to get experience when you were playing football and practicing all the time? And what else did you think you could have benefited from?
Good question. It was very hard because, being a student athlete, you have study hall, you have practice, you have studying of your plays and everything that you have to go through. The one bit of experience that I got was we had a radio show. We had a radio station, and I tag teamed with one of my fellow students, and we did a radio show. And it wasn't a sports radio show. It was just a talking show. It was pretty entertaining to me anyway. But so we just had it, and it gave me experience to be able to publicly talk. It gave me experience to ad lib a lot on the fly and kind of feed off of other people. I think that has really gave me a lot of experience. So when I was able to get into news, some of the things came natural. But yeah, it was very hard. It's hard to throw it all in there. I wanted to be an athletic trainer, but they told me it was going to really be hard to log hours during that time and play football. So I think I made the right decision. I don't know if I would have been able to help heal bones and all that good stuff. So I definitely can talk. So I think that worked out for me.
And some people say that you need connections, like in the sports world, to get a career in front of the camera. Do you believe that it's true that you need those connections, or you think that someone can just, with a passion, can just start from the bottom?
I think there's a bit of both. It's not what you know. It is who you know sometimes, and that's a good thing. And that's why it's important to always establish good relationships with people. I tell people all the time, never burn bridges, even if you can swim. And a lot of people think, I don't care, I don't need that person. No, don't do it. You never know what's going to happen. True story in this situation, myself, my head coach, Paul Johnson, when I was at Georgia Southern, he ended up going to Georgia Tech. And we had a great relationship. When I graduated from college, I would send him emails when he was at the university with the Naval Academy, and I would tell him, good luck, good luck, hey coach, whatever. And so when he made it to Georgia Tech, it made it so much easier for me to have access and to be able to I mean, everybody gets credentials, but it made it easier for me to get access with him, to talk to him about certain things with Georgia Tech. He would stop when I said, "Hey, coach," because, we had a relationship. And I think those relationships are always important. You just never know. These kids that are in high school, Molly was saying, I've known them since Little League. Jake Fromm, for example, before he went to Georgia, he was a Little League, he really grew into himself, I will say. Jake really had the glow up, because, it's a good-looking kid right now. But, it was tough growing up for him. And he'll be the first to say that. But when he got to Georgia, we had such a relationship, it was easy for me to say, "Hey, Jake," and he'd turn around and he'd say, "Hey, what's up, Marv?" And we would talk. And those kind of relationships are important. Roquan Smith, the same way. He played at Montezuma, in Macon County in Montezuma. There's so many different examples of guys who have gone off to play at the next level, and young ladies. Alicia Gray, she's playing in the WNBA. She was a Rookie of the Year in the WNBA. She's from Sandersville. And when you can call a person and just say, "Hey," or you could text them and say, "Hey, man, I need something." And they're like, "Sure, what you need?" It's all about establishing relationships. So networking is great. I think it's important for you to get out there. But yes, if you have a passion for it, I think it's great. And there's so many different opportunities for you guys now with these YouTubes, podcasts, TikTok, to establish a platform. It's right there at your fingertips. TikTok, well, it still lasts for right now. I think they're trying to get rid of it. But do you have opportunities to do it? And it's so cool, man. I wish I had a cell phone, and that's your studio. I wish I had that when I was coming up, because you literally can do everything you want on a cell phone. You can video edit, and then you can upload it immediately. So it's so many different opportunities to do that. And if you want to start small, just say, go to a game on campus and say, "I want to do a synopsis on a game," and kind of do that and make it like a weekly report. Just say, "Hey, I went to the game and this is what I saw," and then make it your own. Make it conversational, make it funny, make it quirky, and that's what's gonna give you that experience. So when you get to the next level.
So the next question I have for you is, at what moment did you realize that you specifically wanted to be in the newsroom, being like a broadcaster and working there?
That's a good question. I was very nervous about it. I think when my teacher told me, thank God she didn't say I had a face for radio. She said you had the voice for radio. But I think I still was nervous going to school, and you learn behind the scenes and you do these kind of stuff. I had a really great internship at WSAV in Savannah. Had an opportunity to go to Hilton Head at the WTA and watch some great tennis with the Williams sisters and Martina Hingis, and then these are all older than you guys, but and then get a chance to go and watch Harbortown golf. A young Tiger Woods. He just won the Masters 97, so this is 99, and Payne Stewart and Davis Love III. There's so many great golfers that were out there. I think when I was around that and could see and feel the energy when they come off the green and you get an interview, it was like, yeah, I think I want to do this. I think I want to do this. But never in front of TV. I enjoy the behind the scenes. Even now, after a football Friday night, I'll get up at 10 in the morning on Saturday to go travel to Knoxville to go follow the dogs, or go to Georgia, Florida, and watch the games, because I just love being a part of that atmosphere and being able to document and archive something so important. I know ESPN is there, and I know Fox is there. All the national conglomerates are there, but they're not going to take care of our local guys like we are. Javon Bullard from Millersville went to Baldwin High School. he's a household name now because he's done some great things. He was the MVP of both the Chick-fil-A Bowl and the national championship. But before that, he was just Javon Bullard. So when we go to a game, the eyes wouldn't be on him. Everybody was talking about Stetson, and rightfully so. But we were giving the attention to our local guys. And it's always great to be able to do that. The parents love it. The former teammates love it. The teachers. I mean, it's always something to be proud about and to give people their due, give people their flowers. Because the national people, as much as they want to on ESPN, they're concerned about the big overall picture. But being in local TV, we're concerned about the people that we go out to every day on our airwaves.
All right. So whenever you first started working in front of a camera, how did you get yourself comfortable with being in front of a camera?
It was hard. It was bad. It was bad. I'm not gonna even say I was a natural. I was not gonna say it was great. It was hard. And I'll tell you, I credit one of my frat brothers. I remember doing a 6 o'clock news and then going to his house afterwards for our dinner break. And he goes, man, I want to show you something. I was like, okay. And so I didn't think anything of it. I knew I was having a rough time, but so he plays back on the DVR me reading the sports. And I was like, and the Braves ran across third base, and that is good for a home run. You gotta love to see Chipper Jones. And it was really monotone, and I was more nervous, I guess, because I was so focusing on trying to read, because we have a prompter. So I was more focused on trying to read than really just kind of writing little bullet points and punching them here and there. And when he watched it, I was so uncomfortable. I was cringe, and I was like, dude, why are you doing this, man? I'm on my lunch break. Why are you doing this to me? And he said, who is that? That's not you. You know how you are with your friends, and, behind closed doors. You're talking a mile a minute. You're funny. You're energetic. You're all that good stuff. And he was like, you need to bring that to the camera. You need to bring that to light. And when he said it, it actually made sense. And I started envisioning that I was talking to my friends about a game. I know as corny as that sounds, people say, imagine when you're talking public speaking that people are in their pajamas or their underwear. Well, I didn't do that, but I was more just talking about hey, guess what? This happened, and you're not going to believe this. This guy went and dunked the ball. So then it started becoming fun when I started, envisioning that I was talking to people instead of a camera lens. Because when you're in a studio or you're live, you're looking at a camera, like a big camera, and you're not looking at people. And, when you're trying to read words and kind of still talk about what you're talking about, you need to kind of overdo it as far as being excited, because it comes off halfway. Because if you don't, it's going to come off okay, why am I listening to this? And I've had some people, especially my older ladies, they're my number one fan base. The blue hairs love me to death. And the grandmas, the nanas, they'll say, I watch sports and I don't even know what sports you're talking about, but you're so energetic. And I'm like, thank you, ma'am. And so that's a compliment to me, because during a newscast, you have death, murder, death, murder, sadness, death, murder, sadness, weather. It may rain, it may not. Who knows? It's gonna be hot. Get a jacket. And then all of a sudden, I get to come up for 3 minutes and talk about something that's totally fun and cool, sports. So I like to say sometimes, I'm the joker. I'm the life of the party. And then, be like, hey, sports, we'll be right back after the break. And it's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's like, it's going to rain again. Death, doom, death, sadness. And then, so I pride myself in making sure that I try to entertain while I educate. You don't want to make it all about yourself, but you do want people to enjoy what they're hearing. Even in a loss, even if the Braves lose, or even if the Dogs lose, you kind of want to be, entertaining with it.
So you explained how you started WMAZ right after you graduated college, but it wasn't until 2006 that you actually started covering sports.
Right.
So what's your opinion on people taking opportunities that are given to them?
Oh yeah, I think you should always do it. I think you should always try it, and you may not like it, but you need to try it. Because it may be something that becomes pretty addictive and something that you really excel at. I had done news for 7 years, and I don't kid. I kid, about sometimes the negativity of news, but it's just the world we live in. And unfortunately, there are a lot of things that are very sad and not really good to talk about. And I did have to cover, numerous, fatal accidents and murders and, house fires and church fires and things that aren't really positive all the time. And it wasn't good. Like, I was like, bro, when I get home, I just want to watch Family Guy and laugh over something that it's just like, I just want to watch something that is nonsense TV, because it was so much negativity, and so sports gave me an opportunity to go to a place that you're actually received and wanted. I don't know about you guys, but try driving up a car in a triple homicide with a camera and saying, "Hey, I'm here for the news." You're not well received in some of those places. I'm going to tell you, you have to do your job, obviously, but, people don't really want you there. But then on the flip side, try going to a conference basketball game, where like here at Georgia College, when they invite the kids from Baldwin County, and it's so loud. I promise you. If you guys get a chance to do that next year, you all doing that next year? If y'all do that next year, it will be up there to one of the loudest games you've ever been, because these kids are there screaming. They're talking, but they are screaming and reacting to this game, and it is amazing. I know the players always have a great time. They did it at Mercer last year, where they invited the elementary school students there. But yeah, I just think that it's always important to open your horizons, because you don't ever want to get burnt out of doing anything. So it's important to kind of switch things up a little bit and say, hey, I want to try that. I think I will try that, because, opportunities are there for you to broaden your horizon. It's going to make you better. Even if you do it and you don't like it, at least you'll have a better understanding of how things work.
All right, and so whatever you're about to have, like a segment on air, do you feel like you're at the point in your career where you can just kind of go out and just say what you want to say, or do you still go and rehearse what you want to say?
The rehearse part is important, just because technology doesn't always work to be your friend. So I say that because you may get up there and the prompter breaks, and they may tell you in your ear, "We don't have video for the Braves game." As you're reading the intro, you're like, "This game is it's phenomenal. You're not going to believe this ending." "We do not have your video." So I say that to say you do need to rehearse at all times. You just don't ever need to take advantage of, "It's going to be a breeze. I'm just going to go up there," because so many different things can happen. A light can pop in the middle of the show, and you want to be prepared. So if you are distracted, you know what you're talking about. You know that the Hawks won last night, 119-117, and Trae Young hit a three-pointer. So you want to be able to say that even if you're distracted and you're like, "Oh my gosh, Trae Young," as you're ducking for cover, as glass is flying everywhere. You just want to be in a comfort zone. Your level of studying and being prepared, it varies from time to time, I think. But I think you really, you just always want to be that way going into it, because you just never know. But there are times where you also, if you're live and you don't have the prompter and all that stuff, you want to keep it short. You want to have your bullet points. and then kind of always go back to that bullet point, to say, this game was an important win for the Hawks. They didn't have DeJounte Murray, but Game 6 is going to be back in Atlanta, and that kind of stuff. You just want to have those 3 or 4 bullet points, and then you can kind of just go from there. Because sometimes when you're talking, you're covered by video. Like videos, they don't see your face, they just see the video. So you can kind of like ad-lib or grab your phone and kind of scroll through and read some notes. But you just want to have those 3 points and say, all right, let's take a look at the video. And then as the video rolls, you're like, and you're like rolling, you're taking page to page or whatever. So that way it makes you sound like you know what you're doing a little bit more.
So not everyone wants to be a sports broadcaster, but what would be your number one piece of advice for people that want to go into sports broadcasting in the future?
I think the number one is to make the story about the person. Stories are about people, and don't make it about yourself. There's so many things that can happen in great stories, and you don't want to force your way into a story just so you can. You're excited that you're at the Georgia game. I think there's some positivity about putting yourself into a story and talking about, this is the first time that I've been able to witness Georgia win in all my life. But at the same time, change it to say, every Georgia fan out there has to be excited about this because this is the first time we've all had a chance to see this. So make it about your people and not yourself. You do have to have a personality, but make that personality sit well with everybody. Because it's a really important. If you see somebody just constantly talking about, I was there at this game and I did this and I did that, you're like, hey, who's this guy talking about? You might as well start talking third person. So that's what I always try to do, and I think I take my experiences with me because I did play college football. Not a lot of people did, so that's one thing that I will say. Sometimes when I go into talking about a football game is like, one thing I remember about going into a huddle, you got to be quiet because the quarterback needs to take over. That's something that I can say that I know for sure because I've been there. So I think it's always important to rely on your own personal situations when it comes to that.
So do you have any closing words for our students and our guest hosts?
I think they did a great job. Give them a round of applause. It's very tough because I'm long-winded and sometimes I answer their questions. Not purposely, but answer their questions. They're like, oh, I had that one. And so they still restructured follow-up questions, and I think that's very important. I think they did a great job. They look very comfortable. They feel like, that this is something that you guys want to do?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and news?
I want to go into like something like NBA sideline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sideline reporting?
Yes, sir.
That's very cool.
I want to do MLB sideline reporting.
Oh, so you guys are sports, but just and you want specifically for what you guys want to do. That's very cool. And again, it's about establishing relationships, knowing your stats, and knowing what's going on with those guys. You guys watch often your sports very often. Mm-hmm. Study those stats and kind of know what's going on. Every once in a while, it's always fun to have a Twitter debate. About what you think, about a take that you have. And sometimes your takes don't go very well, and people will say, that's horrible, you suck, and it wasn't good. But it sharpens what you want to do, so you know how to ask those guys. You just want to be able to always ask a player something that they never really, because sometimes we give them the same questions over and over again. So you want to ask them something different, but at the same time, not be so off the map, like, so Austin Riley, what did you have for breakfast this morning? But you can do something creative, but you guys are doing a good job. I wish you guys the best. You guys seniors? Sophomores. Oh, they're babies. Good stuff.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us for In the Media Studio. Again, I'm Professor Molly Wilkins here with Emily Henderson, Claudia Dick, and we would like to thank Professor Bill Burke and the team of our mass communication students, the Student Life and Advancement offices for assisting us in the gift that we got from Marvin James. I'd like to say thank you to Wendell Staten and the athletics office, Dean Tenbus and his office, and of course, my friend Marvin James himself. Be sure to join us next fall as we have more of these for the rest of next year. Thank you again and good night.